Thank you. Alongside Mike Johnson, Jeff O'Neill, and Darren Dreger after one of the most electric nights, or at least electric starts to a night that we've seen in forever in hockey, frankly. The two greatest rivals in the game who haven't played best on best in forever in a politically charged environment. And we get 3 fights in 9 seconds. O-Dog called for a line brawl this morning. I thought you were joking.
The crazy thing about this was Matthew Tkachuk was holding court this morning talking about discipline and composure. He was going to keep his brother under wraps, Jimmy, and that's how we started the hockey game. Everything went out the window after this morning, and you can tell these guys were not lying. They've been waiting for 9 years. And then JT Miller just had to get this out of his system. That's the way they were going to start the hockey game. They wanted to bully Canada out of the rink, and I thought Canada was excellent. They couldn't gain too much momentum after that, but an excellent response.
This is a wild start, though. You would never think best on best. These are the most skilled players in the world. That's how it would go, but I think it was the tone that the U.S. wanted to send. They certainly didn't push Canada out of the game at all, but those guys said, you know what, it's going to be that kind of game. It's going to be that kind of emotion and intensity, so buckle up. We're ready to play. You better make sure you are. And Canada was, but no one, except for could have predicted this would have happened.
I mean, come on. We were in the press box. We stared down in disbelief in that 9-second sequence. I mean, we know that both teams were emotionally charged. It's Canada-U.S. It's a bitter historical rivalry. But maybe there was a little bit more emotional investment from Team USA. They one more time had to stand through an anthem and listen to a fan base here in Montreal that was raining down boos. I don't think that had a whole lot to do with it, but they're probably tired of that, and as we know, clearly wanted to send a message.
And I really thought it was going to set a crazy standard for the game where everything was going to be ultra physical and all these massive hits. There were some big hits. You saw Connor McDavid get rocked, but everything kind of settled down, and it turned into a tight hockey game after that.
I wonder if Keith had anything to do with this after he got involved in '96.
Well, when you see your dad in those highlights, you're like, that's how we got to play this thing.
And they won in '96, the U.S. did,
So you have the building's going crazy, the country's likely going crazy. McDavid scores this unbelievable goal, and then that was kind of dried up for Canada after that.
Yeah, it seemed like Canada got the momentum. McDavid scores this goal on the rush with an incredible backhand move. I was thinking, what are you up to with this play? And it goes under the bar. And he blew the top off the arena. And I thought to myself, if they could piggyback off of this and pot a couple more, this game could be over and Canada could seal the deal. Everything normalized after that, and the United States really shut down the middle of the ice. Throughout the neutral zone and in zone, there was not a lot there. They really had to simplify. Canada was searching for answers with matchups and combinations up front, and they couldn't find anything.
That will be one of the conversations in the next couple of days, is how do they get the puck to the middle? There were so many turnovers trying to find seams in the offensive zone, trying to go laterally, and the States just bogged it right down, which Finland will do as well on Monday.
Yes.
And Canada couldn't really get those quality chances other than the one individual rush. It's been a challenge for Canada to generate their offense.
How do you evaluate Jordan Binnington? Because he made a couple of great saves. He only gives up 2. He's not the reason they lost, but the goals he gave up, just like in the first game, there was one that wasn't great. There were 2 that weren't great in this one. What do you do?
And O talked about the momentum off McDavid's goal. Well, it ended here.
That's
This
right.
little dribbler by Gensel that goes through his 5-hole. And you're right, the loss is not Binnington's fault. But both goals, as a player on the bench, I would expect and count on my goalie to make both of those saves. And when you don't, it is deflating. And when you're playing a team as good as the Americans, as good as all the teams in this tournament, you can't afford to give up 1 or 2 soft goals. So now the question becomes, what do you do? They've sort of painted themselves in the corner with their commitment to Binnington to be the guy the entire time. I would give serious consideration for Aiden Hill on Monday and see if he can't go in there and just be a little bit cleaner, because Canada doesn't give up much, but you need those saves that you're supposed to make.
It's like Binnington broke even for me tonight. There was some spectacular saves, but you see those dribblers, and the one that there's been 4 goals that go into the middle of the net, and those are the ones you talk to any coach, anyone watching a game, they can't stand the goals that enter the middle of the net, and there's been 4 of them in 2 games. And if you keep staying with them, you're taking a chance of 1 more going in the middle of the net. It might cost you the tournament.
You know, it was a game of few mistakes, though, right? And from a defensive perspective, Team USA was near flawless in this one against Canada. Canada made one big mistake, and the captain, Sidney Crosby, owned that postgame. I mean, we saw the turnover that led to the Dylan Larkin goal. I mean, that's an uncharacteristic play by a very seasoned, decorated centerman in Sidney Crosby. And then you've got the bad line change on top of that. It leads to what basically is a 2-on-1, and Dylan Larkin finds that hole one more time in Jordan Binnington. So it was kind of a collection of mishaps there on that one single play that opened things up and turned it around.
That's when everybody talks about thin margins. One little play like that, it can go back the other way
Yeah.
and it can cost you the game.
Also worth noting, the D pairs were something that Team Canada's never seen before.
Right.
With Makar's injury and the Harley's arrival.
Yeah.
We played fantasy hockey for years, looking at this potential Canadian lineup and say, "More amazing if McKinnon could play with Crosby and McDavid." And yet, there's not a lot of juice right now. And John Cooper was trying to juggle them. What would you do going forward?
I probably would not go back to the same lines he started tonight's game with. I think in the third period, John Cooper got aggressive. He was shuffling players all over the place. McKinnon, McDavid rotated their wingers. They had McDavid with Crosby. They just need to find a way to get the puck to the middle of the ice more. And we saw them in practice trying to activate, be quick ups, and try to use their speed. But I think they just have to find maybe a winger that works with McDavid and a winger that works with McKinnon, and then work from there.
I think you're looking for a 1-2 punch on each line, maybe a couple lines to get you going offensively. You are not going to get 12 guys, 4 lines cooking offensively and having continuity throughout. You're looking for 1-2 punches.
This Thomas Harley story is remarkable. The guy was on his way to Cabo a couple of days ago. We never mentioned him on any of our possible Team Canadas. He was somewhere down the depth chart with Canada, but he's available to come. He spends the morning skate watching from behind a door because he's not allowed to go on when Cale Makar's on the ice. Finally goes on to lead them in stretching and comes on and doesn't just play,
Terrific.
but plays really well. And you wonder now at some point, do they think about keeping him in the lineup, which they can even if Makar comes back?
I think they have to. I thought if he wasn't terrible, that would be great, given what he had gone through to get into the game. But he was so much better than that. Smooth on his edges, good puck reads, good puck passing, and the fact that he's now able to play, if Makar is able to come back and line up on
Gotta
Monday,
bring somebody out.
I think you probably rotate somebody else out. He played well enough to earn another spot, another game.
I thought it was an incredible performance. If that was me, I would have said, watch this, boys. This is going to be ugly out there.
Off
I
the
thought he
glass
was
at
amazing
best.
for what he's been through.
Well, Sidney Crosby lost to the Americans by 2 goals in round-robin play at the 2010 Olympics, and then didn't lose again in a Team Canada sweater, 26 games, until this night where he loses to the U.S. by 2 goals. In 2010, he got another crack in the championship game and won. He hopes to get another crack this time. It will take a regulation win against Finland to assure Canada that chance.